Okay, so when you look at this, the subnetting example, right? And I'm going to basically talk about this example, okay? So basically, you learn by example, okay? Instead of me explaining everything, I'm gonna use the approach called learn by example, right? So example number 1, the subnet mask is this, so 192, right? So if you convert 192, it's /26, and the network address is 192.168.10.0. Okay. So first of all, okay, before I move on, let me just explain. Oops. Okay, that this is the class C subnetting. Okay, this is class C subnetting, meaning, okay, meaning class C subnetting. Okay, the meaning that for the network address is given is, as you can see, is always class C. Okay, and then the subnet mask is given is going to be 255, then something. It could be 192 or 240. Like for example, it should be. So my point is your subnet mask is going to be greater than /24. So the subnet mask typically given for the class C IP address is what? /25, /26, /27, /28, /29, and etc. Okay? So that's a class C subnetting. And for now, I'm going to only talk about class C subnetting. Okay? So having said that, during for the homework assignment and quizzes and exam, right? I'm gonna give you three information only. The first one is I'm gonna give you the network address, some kind of IP address. Okay. The next information that I'm gonna give you is subnet mask. I can just say /26, or I can just say this. I can give you this, right? Same thing, right? And then the last thing that I'm going to give you, right, last information that I'm going to give you is that, by the way, this problem is what? This problem is really about subnetting. Okay, so let me emphasize this one more time. There's three information, right? The network address, subnet mask, and then the last information is that, hey, by the way, this is what? This is the subnetting problem. It's not a natural boundary case. It's not a classful network case. This is what? This is a subnetting problem. So those three informations usually will be given. Okay. So now, so then there is a. Okay. So basically, I want to. There are 5 questions that I want you to answer. When I give you those three information, as long as you can answer these 5 questions, right? As long as you can answer these 5 questions, then you are in a good shape. You don't have to worry about anything. The first question: how many subnets does the chosen subnet mask produce? That's the first question. And number 2: how many valid hosts per subnet are available? And then number 3, what are the valid subnets? And then number 4, what is the broadcast address for each subnet? And number 5, what are the valid hosts in each subnet? Okay, what are the valid hosts? Okay, so now let's just take a look at, I'm going to use the analogy, right? The analogy that I used previously. First of all, how many subnets does a chosen subnet mask produce? Okay, right? So that is basically I'm asking you. So let's say we have this subnet. Okay. So we have baskets, right? Small basket. This is like each of them is Okay, each of them is called what? Subnet. Meaning that small network. You can think that way. I know this is like informal, right? Informal definition. But still, my point is a network, right? And each of them is called subnet. Okay? So let's say, you know what, I'll just make a realistic. Let's just make a realistic. Because subnet is usually the number of subnet is what? It's a power of something. So let's say we have how many subnets? In this case, so for example, I give you the, let's say I give you what? Network address. Or I can give you just regular IP address. And number 2, I give you the subnet mask, right? And then number 3, I said, okay, by the way, this is a subnetting problem, right? It's not a non-natural boundary case, this is subnetting problem. So given this 3 information, I'll go tell you how, but you can generate, okay, from big network, I'm gonna divide this network into 4 different pieces. And this subnet mask information will provide how many pieces that I'm going to have. Let's say in this case I have a 4. So question number 1. Given this, how many subnets does the chosen subnet mask produce? So given this subnet mask, how many subnets we have? First subnet, 2, 3, 4. So my answer is 4 baskets, meaning 4 subnets. So that's the first question. Okay? By the way, I'm just using analogy. The next one. How many valid hosts per subnets are available? So how many valid hosts? So for example, if there is, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say we have 8 apples, right? 8 of them. But even though this basket can hold 8 apples, the number of valid hosts that each subnet can hold is what? That's 8 minus 2. So 6. So the answer is 6 apples per each basket, meaning 6 usable host IP addresses. Basically same thing, right? So I answered my question number 2. How many valid hosts per subnets are available? Meaning, if I use this analogy, I'm saying that how many apples can each basket can hold? Right? Answer is 6 apples. Right? And number 3, what are the valid subnets? This means that what are the valid subnets? Basically, I'm asking you like, what is the IP address for each subnet? Meaning that you know that this bucket, right? Each of the bucket is basically a local area network LAN. That means each bucket will have the valid network address, right? And this is a local area network. I know that it's a small, but it still is a network. I'm using the cloud to indicate that this is what? This is a network. So each network will have what? Network address, right? And this one will have network address. And this one will have network address. So I'm asking, what are the valid subnet means? Hey, what is the valid network address for each bucket that you have to find out. Okay? The fourth one, what are the broadcast address for each subnet? Same thing. So each basket is what? Is a network, right? So it must have broadcast address. So network address, broadcast address. Network address, broadcast address, right? Network address, broadcast address. So you should be able to find out the broadcast address for each bucket, for each network. So that's the fourth question. And then the last one is what? Last one is, what are the valid hosts in each subnet? So that means valid. So whenever I say valid host and the valid subnet means like find out the IP address. Okay. So what I'm saying is, hey, what is the IP address of the first apple? Okay. So that means, what is the IP address? That means usable host IP address, right? So usable host IP address of the first apple in the first basket. Okay? If I rephrase this, usable IP address of what? First device in the first subnet. Same thing. And same thing, like, so I'm gonna ask you, what is the IP address of this the first bucket? And then I'm gonna ask you, okay, what is the second usable host IP address in this second basket, in the second subnet, right? And by the way, there's 8 apples, right? And what is the IP address of this third apple in the third basket? You tell me. And then there's 8 apples. I mean, the 6, actually 6, not 8, because 8 minus 2, right? So there are 6 apples. So each basket have 6 apples, because 8 minus 2, right? So I'm going to ask you, hey, what is the last usable host IP address of the last apple, the last device in this fourth subnet? Can you tell me? Okay. So basically, if you can answer when I give you the IP address and the subnet mask, and then if I give you that this is like, by the way, this is like subnetting problem, you should be able to answer all 5 questions, right? If you can do that, yes, no problem. That means you completely understand the subnetting. Okay? So any question? Okay. So you know what? We'll take a 1-minute break.